So my name is Miguel Neves, and I've come over from Denmark, originally from Portugal. I've actually come south to Edmonton. I don't think anybody else in this room can say that. Look it up. Copenhagen is actually a little bit further north than Edmonton. So who am I? I am this person. I'm a curious creator and a caring curator of computerized content and a conscious connector of charismatic characters. Try to say that tonight after a few alcoholic beverages. I bet you can't. But really what you need to remember about me, or what I'd like you to remember about me, is I'm the social media guy, and I'm an event professional. I've worked in events for about 12 years, so I feel like I kind of know your worries, I know your concerns. But I'm here to talk about the social media side of things, and hopefully you'll find that useful. And I'm going to start with a little story about snow. This is Heathrow Airport. December 2010, if I believe, Christmas. And as you can tell, the equipment they have to remove snow is a little under par. They don't really do snow very well in England. I used to live in England. I was trying to go home to Portugal for Christmas one year. I was rebooked on a few flights. I showed up at the airport to just see if I could get on a flight home. And there was no information. Everything was closed. Nothing was happening. I didn't know what to do. So I decided to start using Twitter. I just joined Twitter a few months before, for personal reasons and also hanging out at events, and I found it a really fun tool. And I just figured, hey, why don't I try Twitter to see if there's any information, if anybody else knows anything about this. So I started tweeting. Okay, I just arrived. I'm now in the longest check-in line ever. Funny fact, when I tweeted this, Twitter didn't actually have images. So you could only do text, and you had to link out to a different program if you wanted to put an image in your tweet. So I don't know if any of you remember that, but that's why most of this is text. So I said, I'm not really supposed to be here, and I used the hashtag Heathrow. And then something kind of interesting happened. I got this reply from Karen, @KarenCNN. Said, hello, I'm from CNN. I'm looking to talk to people about their airport weather experience. I'm like, what? What, is this for real? It was. So at 6 a.m. that day, I was live to the Atlanta studios. I was like listening to the broadcast. They called me. They put me on the phone. And then, I'm listening to the news of that day. And now we go live to Miguel Neves, who's at Heathrow Airport. So what could you see, Miguel? I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a mess over here. It's crazy. So that was my little claim to fame. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't get to Portugal that day. It was not a great travel day. But it really made me realize how small social media makes the world. If I could just be standing in a queue somewhere, and I wasn't looking to get a free ticket from the airline or anything like that. I was just kind of reporting on what I was seeing. And suddenly I'm interviewed by CNN. It's like the world just got really small. Like this social media thing could really be interesting. And it kind of fueled my passion to really get to understand social media and really try to use it better. So that's what my session's going to be a little bit about. Share with you a few statistics. These are not many statistics that I want to share, but it's about 7.7 billion people in the world, and almost half are on social media, some form of social media. This could be WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram. And if you think about it, this includes all the older people that are probably not online. It includes newborn babies. So out of every single person in the world, almost 50% of the world is on social media. In urban areas, in the middle of nowhere. So why I like to kind of point this out is that some people tell me, oh, my clients aren't on social media. I'm not on social media. It doesn't really have anything to do with my work. I'm like, well, everybody's kind of on social media, or at least everybody's affected in some way by social media. So it is important. And I totally agree with Laura saying it's important to do things right. And that's really what I want to be talking about a little bit. Just to give you some more numbers, this is how many people are on Facebook. 2.4 billion people are somehow active on Facebook every month. Just to put that into perspective, that's roughly the population of India and China, the two most populated countries in the world, put together. It's huge. And if you take into account that Facebook also owns Instagram, that's 3.4, although a lot of people will be on both. So there's a lot of people on social media. So social media, I believe, is really part of who we are today. And whether we like it or love it or don't like it at all, I think social media really brings out the best and the worst in us. And I'll give you a couple of examples that maybe you're familiar with that I think will make sense. Who remembers the ice bucket challenge? Who did an ice bucket challenge? All right, thank you. I mean, that's great. The ice bucket challenge, if you remember, you threw a bucket of ice water over your head, and then you challenged the next person to do the same, and it was to raise awareness for the ALS Foundation. The ALS Foundation ended up raising $220 million from donations that this raised awareness. So I think that's a pretty good use of social media. This is Bill Gates, who of course created a special contraption to throw water on himself rather than have anybody else do it. There you go. But social media can really do some pretty bad things. I don't know if you remember this particular example. I think what's really interesting about the Fyre Festival is that social media both helped to kind of create it. I think something like 200 different models and influencers were paid to send an orange square on Instagram as a sort of sneak peek announcement that created this massive buzz for the festival, and then ended up thousands of people buying tickets for something that was clearly not a high-end experience. But social media also brought it down. One of the images you see there, that's from a tweet that somebody sent out of the luxurious lunch that was provided when they arrived at the island. And of course, the Fyre Festival is really an example of what not to do, both on social media, but of course in event planning as well. So those are just two examples of how it brings out the best and the worst in us. And it's easy for us sometimes to blame technology. Ban Facebook, let's get rid of it all. But I think it's important to remember that behind the trolls, behind a lot of the negative things that happens online, there's people. There's people making marketing decisions. There's people deciding that they want to troll others. So I'm not saying the technology companies are not to blame, but there's people behind all these things that are happening. And there's also the effect that social media has on us from a sort of medical and psychological perspective. There's many studies out there. Most point to it's probably not the most positive thing in terms of psychology and in terms of well-being, but we don't really fully understand it, especially when it comes to children. I think when it comes to children, we're still really trying to figure out how best to use social media. But let's really get back to the events industry. And I think we can agree that social media is undeniably powerful. I don't want to get into politics, but I think both the UK and the US have recently had elections that were seriously affected by politics. So it's definitely powerful in what it does. And the reason why I think it's really powerful for me is I think it's the most human form of online communication. Because social media is really designed to be social. And for me, there's really two reasons why it's extra human. The first one is that it gives you instant feedback. Just like in a conversation, when you're face-to-face with someone, you can tell if someone's bored or someone starts yawning or something's not quite right or if it's an interesting conversation or not. On social media, you have the like buttons and you have comments, and you can tell if you post something really interesting on social media and nobody cares, then maybe it wasn't as interesting as you thought it was, at least to the people that you thought it might be interesting to. So that instant feedback, I think, makes social media very, very human. The other thing that I think makes social media quite human is the idea that almost anybody can be online and on social media and can post in many different formats in many different social medias. So it becomes quite democratic and everybody can use it. So I think if we want to really understand how to make the most of it, it's important that we kind of go behind the scenes and we understand a little bit about how it works. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite images. Does anybody know what this is? Alex, I know you know the answer, but does anybody else know what this is? This is a visual representation of my LinkedIn connections. I'm the dot in the middle that has my name, and then every one of these dots is someone else, and you can see that there's lines going between everybody, so they're all connected to other people. And they're color-coded depending on kind of the type of work that I'm doing or the network that I'm part of, that they're all connected. The people in the far left, the purple ones, they're my friends and family. They're all connected to each other, but you see they have nothing to do with the events industry, so they don't know any of the other people on the other side. But what I think is really interesting about this image is that it kind of looks like a brain, like a neural network. And if you think about when you post something online and it resonates and it kind of goes viral, if you imagine all these dots are kind of lighting up, like all these people are seeing this content. And that's really when it gets really magical. That's when social media really can can really help you communicate very well. So there's two sides to social media for me that I think are worth understanding. One is the technology. That's when we get technical about, should we tag people? Should we put hashtags? What time should I post? How long should my posts be? What images should I use? That's all the technical stuff. But there's also the psychological stuff. Why is someone going to find this interesting? How do I tell the story of my event or my company in a way that people actually find interesting? And that answer, that can change dramatically from one to the next. So understanding that psychology of why people would like something or share it, and it's important that people do like and share. Not just because we like seeing pretty numbers, like, oh, I got 1,000 likes on this post. That's kind of cool, but the real reason is because whenever somebody likes or shares or comments on your post, it sends a signal, it sends a technology signal to the companies like LinkedIn and Facebook. And that means that that content gets spread further and further out. So getting those likes is really important to getting that message across, because that'll light up the neural network, if you will, of social media. But as Lara very well pointed out, we live in a really noisy world. We're inundated. We scroll past thousands of posts on our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We get thousands of emails. And so I really think, much like Lara, the idea is not to make more noise in an already noisy world. I like to think that social media can be better than that we can actually use social media in a better way that's not just about creating noise. It's about adding real value. And I love this little cartoon. I don't know where it actually comes from, so I can't credit it adequately. But I feel like this really happens to me sometimes. Like, I used to work for IMEX, the trade show, IMEX America and IMEX in Frankfurt. And I would walk around the trade show floor sometimes, and people would come up to me and they're my best friends. Miguel, so nice to see you. I'm like, I don't know who you are, and I felt really embarrassed. But then I started realizing, because I'm kind of the social media guy, I'm in their feed a lot. And I'm kind of like, okay, I think we met. Yeah, I remember us meeting, but I didn't realize we were such great friends. But that's great. It's not like I don't like that happening. But for me, that's really the great result of doing good social media. It's when you start conversations, and it's when keeping your story going online helps you have better conversations. When you go to the next event, it's like, oh, I saw that post you did when you were in this other place. Oh, that's great. I'm wishing you well in your next event. That's great. That's exactly what I think we should be using social media for. Not for going viral. That's really hard to do, especially in B2B. But creating and kind of nurturing these conversations, that's really what it's all about. And I think we know this. I think as event professionals, we are experts in gathering people and experts in bringing people together. And that's really how I think we should be using social media. So I want to kind of challenge you a little bit and tell you that it's not about breaking the code. It's not about figuring out the exact number of words or which hashtags I should be using to figure out exactly, how my post is maybe somebody's gonna be searching that hashtag and end up on something that I'm saying. It's not really about that. For me, it's about creating what I call social media recipes. So I don't know if you guys cook, if you like cooking, but if you do, you probably have some recipes. Maybe you have some family recipes that are unique that nobody else knows how to do. I have like a chocolate mousse that I make that I'm always like, oh, this is a family recipe. It's actually on the back of a packet of chocolate, like cooking chocolate in Portugal. So the whole of Portugal knows it, but it's my family recipe. I'm gonna tell everybody it is. So anyway, social media recipes is really taking that idea that a recipe, a process to get from raw ingredients to something that tastes really nice, you can apply the same kind of thing to social media. So I'll give you an example of what I use as my social media recipe, and I invite you to steal it, to use it yourselves if you think it's great. So I kind of have two. I cheat a little bit, but I think they go hand in hand. So my first social media recipe is called Daily Engagement, and it's really just spending about half an hour a day going through my profiles, and I really use LinkedIn as my main, kind of professional social media. I go through LinkedIn for about 20 minutes a day, and I just scroll through, and I like and comment, and I'm social. I literally just see what people are doing and leave a comment, and try to be as truthful and honest as possible. Don't just comment on people just because, it's the good thing to do, and the social media guy told me to do it. No, it's like, go on and say, yeah, this is nice. Oh, I like what you're doing there. And I do this for two reasons. One, because whenever somebody sees that I did that, I get top of mind, like, oh yeah, Miguel, I know that guy. The other reason is because it kind of trains the technology. So the more I go onto somebody's profile and like what they do or comment or whatever, the more likely that they're going to see my comment. So I'm kind of training that neural network that, hey, we're connected. You should show that person my content as well. So, there's a kind of other reason to do it, but I'm trying to be as social as possible. And the other thing I do is I create social videos. I literally take out my phone, and usually if I travel for an event or if there's something interesting happening, I don't tend to do it when I'm really annoyed at the office. That's not great for social media. But when I'm traveling or doing something cool, I literally take my phone. I try to start every video with something in the background that immediately says to people, oh, he's traveling or he's doing something interesting. So in this case, I was working at IMEX America. There's the IMEX America logo behind me. So even if you don't watch the video, you kind of know where I am. And then I just literally say, hey, I'm in Las Vegas, I'm at IMEX America, really looking forward to spending a few days with the IMEX team. If you're here, let me know, catch you later. About a minute, not much editing at all, really, just post it right away. And that really works. Going back to that cartoon, people stop me all the time. I'm like, you're really successful, you've been traveling loads. Like, I haven't actually traveled for 3 months, but I'm glad you think so. Great, yep, that's good, we like that. So social videos is really the thing that works for me. And I kind of borrow this recipe or inspire myself a little bit from a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a social media speaker and entrepreneur. And he has this sentence that he uses, which he says, document, don't create. And what he means by that is don't get stuck on having the highest production quality or using the right hashtags or figuring everything out. Just do it. Just record a video and send it out on social media. And then just have the interactions, because we get like analysis paralysis. We just want to get it all perfect. And it's much better to put out something that's imperfect than to spend ages and ages trying to get to that one perfect thing, and then maybe nobody cares anyway. So you might as well send out the imperfect one and just be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Maybe I'll do it again and get it better next time. So absolutely, just get it out there. And I would kind of transform this into saying, don't wait, do it now. Do it yourself. Because what's amazing about just doing videos on your phone is that they're really real. They're not like this high-end production where you've got the perfect makeup and you're in a studio with the best lighting and the microphones and everything like that. They're real, and people appreciate that. So I almost rather have video that's not great quality, because people know that that's really you. That's really you just talking. So I really like to just make imperfect videos that just help to tell the story. So why does this really matter? And I think it's really important for events, because we can use this type of thing just like we do for events. I think social media is all about connecting people. I think it's about connecting people to other people. I think social media is about connecting people to knowledge. And I think social media is about connecting people to businesses, to doing business. And if you think about it, those three things, it's exactly the same for events. We're connecting people to people. We're connecting people to knowledge. And we're connecting people to businesses. And we can do that online as well. So for me, it's all about connecting people. And we can do that on social media. Rather than try to be viral and be trendy and be an influencer, it's about connecting people. So I much prefer something that is just imperfect, but it's social. And that's really, for me, what social media is all about. So I'd love to answer some of your questions, but what I've done instead is I have 2 breakout sessions this afternoon, and my breakout sessions are going to be just basically questions and answers. I'm going to be in the dark room downstairs, which is a bit spooky, and I'm going to make it spooky intentionally. So if you want to talk about social media, come, bring some questions. And if you have any right now or during the session, I'm using a tool called Slido. If you want to throw any questions in, just go to slido.com. and put the hashtag GoWest2020. And then you'll see a little menu that you can ask whatever questions you want. Even if you don't come to the session, if you have a question for social media, put it in there. You can do it anonymously, or you put your name. If you put your name, I can always email you with an answer. So just do that, and I'm going to be using that throughout my breakouts. So I really invite you to come and have a conversation. Really, the breakout is going to be a social conversation about social media. So this is me. If you'd like to get in touch, I'm on all the social medias. LinkedIn is my preference. Twitter, I'm also quite active on. That's my email. And all I can say is I really appreciate being up here, and thank you, Brent and Arlene, for having me and the GoWest team. Have a great event, and hopefully see you later.